We are now going to be jumping into Nightwish, Devil and the Deep Dark Ocean, live in Buenos Aires. Let's get into it.
Okay, so we'll give you this nice little piece. It's called Devil and the Deep Dark Ocean. A snowy owl above the haunted waters, poet of the ancient gods, Christ to tell the never-ending story, prophecy of becoming floods.
The neuron mysteries around the lady brightest ride, so the incarnation before the creator of the night.
That was a note. We're going to hear that again. I love in the composition here how everybody's kind of like rolling along. There's a lot going on. It's quite thrashy at this point, you know what I mean? There's like a slight element of Slayer kind of rhythm going on. But then they come together with these stabs, with the strings on the keyboard and the guitar and the drums. It's just like we're all doing our thing, and then come together as one. Bum, 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 ba-dum. And it's such an epic impact when they do that, isn't it? Really, really nice arrangement.
Justice Kingdom, pulling on the Morrow's world. There's on the liquid, giving power. The red item bomb.
The true grace of the Blackwell water, the creator of infinite blue. Skeleton masters, Mr. Carbon on a new fallen star.
I would die for the love of the melody. A seduction, beauty, and scorn. Welcome to the end of your life. Hail the ocean born.
Disgraceful suffocating, death was spoken by wedding cries. All the great new breed, the modern dew for you are the created of the image of God.
Right now, all rest is sweet. When we here in the day.
I prayed for pleasure, wish for love, prayed for love. Who the hell are you for me? An immortal dream to see. Leave me be, leave me be, leave me, leave me.
Oh, I loved that section there. That was really, really nice. I loved the intervals and the kind of way it was sort of like this just turning kind of change in structure. Really, really, really cool. That high note was absolutely crazy. You must be so nervous, right? If you're performing something like that, where you're throwing out these crazy notes, that something's going to go wrong, because going out of tune when you're singing, it's never going to feel good, is it? You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, with all instruments, like if you play a wrong note on a guitar, it's like, yeah, that's not great or whatever, but yeah, it's okay. People generally don't notice if there's a note out of place here or there. With singing, everybody, whether they're musical or not, they hear if you go out of tune singing. And when you go to these really high levels where the register is going to cut through the whole band, everybody's going to hear, you are totally naked, you are totally exposed going for those notes, and they're the hardest to get right. So it's real talent and real courage to kind of to write this part, and then to go and pull it off live and not just kind of decide not to. Because with the composition process, you would think with like, sure, we're going to do that in studio, we'll do a load of takes and get it right. But then when it comes to the live thing, it's like, I'm not going to try and do that live. But she does, you know, it's amazing. And Clemens says in the chat, remember she was plagued by the flu on this tour. Seriously. Also during this performance, she was on medicine. The great reactor Julia Nealon could hear it by some choices Floor made for her voice. Wow, I need to check out Julia Nealon. I haven't seen their stuff. But it's really cool watching those reaction videos from like vocal analysts, vocal coaches, you know what I mean? They give such a great insight into what exactly the singers are doing, and I say the choices she's making. And that's the musicianship that Floor has, is that she knows what options she has. You know, she's that kind of a vocalist where she's like, I don't feel I can pull this note off with this technique right now, so I'm going to use a different technique, or perhaps even go for a different note. You know, like, but there's ways of working around it. You've got to know what, you know, if your sword's broken, you've got to know you've got a dagger, and then how to use that. You know what I mean? I think like she knows how to use her arsenal, her weaponry, you know, and how to kind of approach each situation. And that's one of the many things that's so badass about Floor. Awesome. Oh yeah. I love these stabs on the vocals. So cool and bang on precision. Now I've got to say, the keyboard work is just, if you ever played Sega Master System when you were a kid and you had to do those button bashing games, you know what I mean? They would be absolutely phenomenal. You know it. You know they won every game when they were a kid. That technique, we know it.
To coffin, shall my wickedness be your passion?
Yeah, I'd like to build on David's point in the chat here, the switch to major key. And what that's doing is giving you a release. Because as I say, it's been so driving and so intense throughout this whole song that to go to major at the end, it's this feeling of lifting, of release, because the tension's been building throughout, and it builds and it builds, and that goes inside you, you know, it kind of fuels your emotions. You might get a little intense, but what the song has done here is let all that go for you and let you kind of release it now. And it's almost like the song is kind of giving you a gift there. You know what I mean? It's just like, I've wound you up, but don't worry. it was worth. It was like it was all leading to something, and I love that with music, how you can kind of build and release tension, build or release emotions. It's a really kind of fun way to compose, to kind of think from that angle of how is the listener feeling emotionally right now. Just been sort of revving them up. Where are we going to take them? Are we just going to rev them up and let them go? You know, it's a really, really cool angle. I love that little slide there.
Wow.
Beautiful and interesting little rhythm at the end here. Let's just hear that last bit again. Always interesting. Epic. Absolutely epic. I really, really loved that one. Oh, man. Nightwish are something else, aren't they? I love the sort of the fantasy angle they have, you know. It's I'm a big nerd myself. I'm into Dungeons and Dragons and World of Warcraft and role-playing games and everything, and there's something about Nightwish just really kind of feeds that part of me. But it generally feels that a lot of the time my love for sort of fantasy, Lord of the Rings and all that is something very separate from my love of music, unless I'm sort of composing or listening to things like Howard Shore or something, or like, you know, fantasy soundtrack, game soundtrack and things like that. Not so much rock, but Nightwish really brings that fantasy soundtrack, that world, into rock metal music, you know. And I think it's really, really awesome to kind of have those two passions combined, and that's what Nightwish does for me. If that resonates with anybody else, if you know what I mean. I really, really get that from them. Just the whole aesthetic, the lyrical content, and the cinematic, powerful music. You know, it's just something else. That was Nightwish, Devil and the Deep Dark Ocean live in Buenos Aires.